Hello, welcome to part 4 of the Advanced UiPath Document Understanding video series. So in this series, we'll be taking a look at how we can validate the extracted data based on the confidence level. So as of now, we have been doing a lot of validations or data extractions using the data extraction scope, and we did extractions on multiple fields using different extractors. So until now, we only focused on using a present validation station, irrespective of how the extraction took place. So today we'll see how we can use this or change the same workflow to introduce the confidence level. So what I'm going to do is I will just minimize this. So as you know from data extraction scope, we are getting an output called automatic extraction data, and I'm going to use this variable to check the confidence. Before that, I'm going to uh, change the intelligent OCR package to the latest version because some new releases were there during the past couple of weeks. So I'll update that to show you how we can use the latest features. Okay, so to export these results, we need to use the export extraction results activity, which you can find once you search for export. It will be there under intelligent OCR. So I'm going to use it somewhere here. Before that, I'll just add a new sequence. Uh, if you think that this is too much for this particular workflow, you can simply do another workflow and invoke it as we did here for this classification. But for now, I will show it here itself. And in this sequence, I will place this particular activity, and I'm going to use the automatic extraction result variable that I got from the data extraction scope. Uh, Sorry, it's automatic extraction data, and the output it returns is a data set which contain multiple tables. So we can create one uh, extraction data set. Also, we see a couple of uh, options over here. Include confidence, which will say if it is set to true, it will give you the confidence information for each reported value. And include OCR confidence, that will return the OCR confidence of each value. So this is the extractor confidence, and this is the confidence level that's coming from the OCR. So we'll use both and see what's the output that we are getting. And uh, now we have a data set inside this scope. Now what we need to do is we need to extract that data from the data set. We need to loop it because the data set contains multiple tables. So I'm going to use a for each and use that variable here, extraction data set, and change the type arguments to data table because what contains inside is a data table. And I will say data extraction dataset dot tables. This will give you the list of tables and extraction data. Now here I will, for now, just to see the output, I will use the right range so that we can see. Okay, I don't have the Excel activity, so I will just add it. Right, so now I'll be using right range, and I will just give the file path. Data table is the extraction data table, the variable I gave over here. And the sheet name, this thing can contain multiple sheets. Remember, there is a loop that iterates through tables. So I can get the name of the table by uh, using that name, table name, and the range I will say like this, and also include add headers. So we'll run this and see what's the output that we get. So to run, I have two invoices. Let's see what sort of output we are getting. So here you can see the present validation station is still here. So don't worry about it. I will just remove it after we do the validation. For now, I just want to show you what's the confidence we directly get from the data extraction scope. And based on that confidence, I will show you how to show the validation screen depending on that. So here we have to select the folder path. Uh, okay, so this is here. For now, we are just ignoring this. Oh, and one has gone to the classification station. Okay, so we'll do that. So it's in a different instance of my orchestrator. So I'm trying to log in. And I will go to actions. and go to unassigned. This is what got created, and it's an invoice. So let's proceed. Okay, now I'm going to resume. So that's based on the confidence levels we set previously when we are talking about the confidence over here. So this is kind of the similar logic that we are going to use, but it's a little bit different because here we are dealing with multiple fields. So for everything, for now we get this, but yeah, but now we should see the output. So you saw that I ran this for two documents and it was writing in the same output data uh, Excel file, but yeah, for now it's fine because I just want to show you the extraction. So see here, this is the invoice of the last executed uh, file, and for this value, the invoice number, we see the confidence of the extractor and we see the confidence of the OCR. Uh, so 1 means it's really good, 0 means it's bad. So 0.9 means it's a pretty good value. And you can see that it's available for each and every field. Uh, yeah. And for this thing, it's this one. So here this contains all those main fields. And if you want to see any formatted values, you can use this. You can see that there are slashes and double quotations nicely formatted based on certain key fields. And if you go to line items, there you can see the line items of the invoice. And for each line item, you can see the confidence of both. And for that also, you have the formatted one. So what we can do is we can use this output to uh, actually get the confidence and see how we can write a logic behind that. So for that, uh, we need to loop this again. So having said that, we'll try to change this for each. So using these two confidence levels, we can try to extract and the confidence and figure out what's going to be the or how we can decide whether we need to present the validation station or not. So the first thing to do is first we need to have a simple variable saying whether we need manual intervention or not. So I would say uh, I will say manual verification. This is of type I will set it to boolean, and at the beginning I will set it to false. And then so in this workflow you know that there are different document types that we process. So if you actually see these extraction scope, here you can see invoices, different types of forms, purchase orders, and many more things. So depending on the document type, there might be different ways of exporting or validating the data. So how do we identify the document type? Is by extracting the document type from the taxonomy. So if we actually go to taxonomy manager and open each type, here you can get the document type ID which says finance, incoming, and invoices. And for this one, it says form 10K and so on. So you might have different groups, you might have different categories in each group, and in each one, there might be different types. So, depending on that, you might need to write your own logic. So, for this purpose, we have only one group and one category, but different types. So, I will take this string and I will try to extract the last part of that string by splitting it from this dot. So, what you can do is the next thing is you are going to use another assign, which will uh, give us the document category over here, and I'm going to write the expression. So this has to be taken from the classification. So if you actually scroll up, here, you can see we are inside a loop that we process each classification that we return from the document. So we are going to use this each classification to get that. So getting here, so I will use age classification, and in that I'm going to use the document type ID, and this I'm going to split because that will return us the full string, and I'm going to split it based on the dot, and I need to get the length and the last character or the last segment of that split array. So inside the variable two brackets, I'm going to say each classifier document type ID, and I'm going to split it by the dot and get the length of that, and it will say -1 because length will give the full length, and I need to get the last character or last segment, which is length -1. So this will give us the last type of the document, and it is going to be assigned to document category. And now, depending on the category, we are going to write our own logic. So I'll be using a flowchart over here, and I'm using a flow switch. Why I'm using a flow switch is because I have multiple document types, and that will have more than one condition or one path to go. And it says string because I'm getting a string from the document category. Uh, and here is the document category, and from this I will assign multiple paths out. So I'm not going to do this for all the document types. I will do it for one so that you can get a clear idea how it has to be done. So in here I will say invoices, and I'm going to add one path, and this path is going to change as invoices. So for this I need to use the same name as we get over here because this is the output that we get from the document category. And for invoices, the thing I need to do is I need to now here you can see we have values and we have multiple data tables, and in each we have the confidence level as columns, and you get it in different rows as well. So depending on your logic, you can write your logic, but For the demo purpose, I will show you how to access the confidence level of each and every row and column to do the validation. Because for this validation, the first step is using the confidence, because that's where we get to know whether the value got extracted properly or not. So I'm getting back to invoices. So first thing is here, uh, if you get here, now we know that this giving us multiple data tables. So the first thing is to get the data tables out of that. So I'm going to use a for each. Um, so just like we did for that Excel check, this the same thing. Extracted data set dot tables, and the type of that is going to be data table extract dt, and for each data table I'm going to check the columns, because I need to identify the column that has the confidence, and I'm going to use the extract dt dot column for that. Let me change this, and in columns I need to get the columns type. So if you don't have it here, you can go to browse and use data column, which you can find under system.data. And now we have access to the column. Now we need to check which column we need to access. So we are right now not interested in the columns that has the value. We are only interested in the columns that has the confidence level. So we'll write if condition to grab or check whether the column name contains the confidence word. So we have two columns like that. We'll do it for both. So I'm going to write a if. Oops. So how I will do it is, we'll use the data column, the column name contains here I will copy and paste the value what I get over here. So why I took only that part is, prior to that we have the column name and that changes for each and every column. So this part is unique, so that's why I took it, and I will do that for OCR confidence as well. And oh, column name contains. So if it is only these two, either of these two columns, I will go inside, and inside that, now we know the column, and now we need to loop through the rows to get the confidence value. So for that, I'm going to use for each row, because it's a data table, and I'm going to use this extract dt. Uh, yeah, and for extract dt, now we know. Now basically, if we come out of this, uh, here we know what's the type of the document, and we have have a different condition for that, and for each type we are going to loop through the tables, get the column, access the confidence columns, and get the rows. So here you can also write give a simple flow chart to write your logic. Okay, so inside this, we can write our logic depending on the confidence level. So the first step here outside this in the data validation, the first step is to check whether this flag we created is still set to false. Because if this is set to true, we know that it's set to automatic verification, sorry, a manual verification, and we don't need to go through this logic again. So by default it's set to false, and because of that, so we need to have that column or that check. So I'm going to use a flow decision to check the first condition, uh, to check whether manual verification is true or not. So it's a boolean, so I'm not going to say whether it's equal to true or not. By default it will decide whether it's true or not. So if manual verification is true, which means you need to verify it uh, manually, and we already know that if it is set to true, it has to be verified manually. So I am checking for the false part of it. If it's not set to true, that means we need to go through the conditions and check whether we need the manual verification. So the next condition, and I'm going to assign this to the false part because of that reason. Uh, Manual verification, and if this is false, I will check the next thing whether the extracted value or the extracted confidence, whether this value is blank or not. So if, let's imagine this field wasn't extracted, and in that case we need to, if it is not extracted, say for example the vendor address did not get extracted through the model, in that case we will have the values like this. So we won't have any value for the confidence. So because of that, we need to first check it. So how you can do it is, in the second condition, I'm going to say uh, string dot is null or empty, and in here I'm going to write that condition. In the row, I'm going to access the column. So we already know the DT column, the column name. This will give us in which column we are in either of these two, and to string. So this will basically give us whether it's null or empty. So if it is null or empty, that means it's not extracted. So I will say this is the null check. And if this condition is true, if it is null, then in my case, I'm going to say if one variable or one value is not extracted, either one value is not extracted, I need to do a manual check. And because of that, I will set an assign here, and I will say manual verification is true. That is only if a field has not got extracted. And on the other hand, if there is a value extractor, which means you have the confidence level. If the confidence level is there, I need to check whether it has a higher confidence value, something above, let's say, 0. So let's see what we have here. Uh, let's say something above 0.7. So we have 0.6. So we will get to work with thing, the manual verification as well. So the next condition, if there is a value that, and then I need to check the confidence level. So here you can see, if we open the Excel file again, we have two uh, confidence columns and each give a unique result. And over here, for one, it gives the extractor confidence as 0.9 and the OCR is saying it's -1. And likewise, you have different values that you get for each. So you need to check these two if you are using both separately, because one might highly differ from the other, as you see over here. So you need to check that separately. So we'll do that now. And going back here, I'm going to use the uh, flow decision again. And the first chain is extractor confidence. I will check this one. So this all depends on your logic. So for now, I will show it. And to check the confidence, I need to convert this to a numeric format. So I'll be using double for that. And I will say row uh, and dt column name. Yeah, so before that, I need to check the confidence, the column. So first condition is dt column name contains, because we are accessing both columns over here, contains. The first condition is, first I will check this. If it's this column, then it's going to be a separate check. If that's the case, then I will use another flow decision, confidence value check. So if it's the extractor confidence, then I'm going to use, I need to convert it to a numeric format as I explained earlier. So I will use double dot parse of that particular row of the column, and I will convert it to a string. And this is converted to a double, and if that conversion is less than 0.7, then I will say I will need manual verification. And if that is true, I will say I need manual verification. And if it is not the extractor confidence that we are checking, then uh, then again I need to check the confidence value. So I will just copy and paste it. So this is for OCR. So I will just change the uh, outputs of this to make it clear. This is the OCR. And if the OCR confidence, I will say This has to be something less than 0.5, for example. And if it is 0.5, and then I will say the manual verification, I need it as true, like this. Okay, so we have multiple conditions defined. So we need to do one more small change. In this if condition, we have only these two columns. So if we have that flag, the manual verification, so by default it is set to false. But if it is set to true by any chance, we still don't need to go through this logic and look for it, unless we really want to check how many columns are blank or how many columns are less than the confidence level, if you have additional logic like that. So for my purpose, I don't need to do that. So I will change this condition a little bit with by adding this or part inside another block, and I will say it is the manual verification has to be false. And also you can see here in this line items, the OCR confidence is kind of giving a -1 figure, whereas the extractor confidence is giving a very good figure. But if you actually take a look at line items, both are giving a pretty good figure. So I will just exclude this particular column from the verification for the time being. So I will just copy the header and we'll add another condition if dt uh, column name contains this, then I need to exclude it. It shouldn't be that column. Right, so we have our logic built now, and using this logic, we will return whether I need manual verification or not. So what I need to do is, using that, I'm going back to my original location over here, and after this flowchart, I will add a simple if condition to check whether what's the output of this manual verification. So if the manual verification is true, I'm going to present the validation station. If it is not, for our testing purpose, let's put a message box saying can be auto verified, something like that. So let's test our logic to see how this really works. So I'm running it and we get the folder path. Um, so I have two invoices. So for your case, if you have multiple document types, you just need to have its own verification logic linked to this flow switch. I do process multiple types, but for the time being, I'm showing only for one. So you can try out yourselves for the rest of the document types. So this we are getting it obviously because we don't have values extracted for these two for some reason. And the one went to the classification station. The in the action center will quickly check it out. And I'm going to confirm this and go to resume. So let's see how our logic work now. I'm hoping to get a message box so that you can see it really well. Let's see. So it's going inside. Okay, so we got the validation station again for some reason. Let's have a closer look on why it's saying. So by the look of it, you see that it has a higher confidence level from the extractor. Here it says 99%, but maybe the OCR confidence is somewhat low in one of these. Let's see, 14345, 3775. It looks fine. This is looking good, and in this one, mm, yeah, the values are seems to be fine. This looks good. Let's have a closer look here. Mm, maybe we'll need to uh, do a quick check on these values. So I will try to copy it and we'll just try to compare that with what we see over here in the first line. HPI, battery, 4C. Uh, this part looks fine. LI, LA 98241, 7242. Huh. Okay, see here, see some of these are not extracted properly, and I don't know from where this part is coming from. Yeah, it might be from this origin and CN. So seems the extractor confidence is high, but from the OCR confidence it must be a little bit low. So let's actually see that whether that's the problem. So I'll just close this for now. Uh, and getting back to this logic, we'll try to add a message box over here, and we'll try to add this code. So what I'm trying to do here is, if I'm to show you in a much more clear way, so for the extractor confidence, I will say extractor, just an identifier, the column, and the confidence level. And I will do this same thing for this OCR confidence as well. So I'll paste it over here to see why it's actually, what is causing it to get into true state. So here I will say, it's instead of extractor, we say OCR. We'll see what's causing it. This should be interesting. Um, okay, so I'm going to run it again. Um, so I have the folder path, examples. Okay, so for the first document, here it says the extractor and the invoice has gone into 0. The confidence level of the extractor has for invoice number as 0.5, which is less than 0.7, which we placed over here. So that's fine. and that also has some null values as we saw earlier in our previous run for this vendor address and this stuff. And also you can see here the invoice number confidence is less than what we defined. So let's save it for now. And the other one goes to the classification, because we had the classification check over there, and you can see it's 62%. So I'll just save it and we'll resume the process, and let's see what is actually causing that state to get to true while we see a higher percentage from the extractor for all the fields. So it's executing, and we didn't have any field as blank either, so it has to be from. Okay, so have a look at this, and it's coming from the OCR, and it says from OCR confidence in the description column, the OCR confidence is 0.0999, so that is very less. Okay, so the description column is in the line items, and if you have a look, as earlier it's the extractor confidence is very high. So basically the extractor extracted all the lines, but this is the image, as you see, a scanned image. But in terms of the OCR side, there is a problem, and here you can see it is not the exact same thing that got extracted. There is a slight difference. For the second line, here you can see after CD, um, CD it says factor space Y EAE something. So it's like though it's highlighting all these things, some of those have not got extracted or identified properly through the OCR. So this is the benefit of so the output is not what we got is not expected, because I was expecting to see uh, this particular message box from here, which can be automatically verified, but it's fine. But good thing is we found a nice scenario to explain how the two confidence levels help us to validate the data accuracy. So from the extractor point of view, we got everything extracted without a problem. But from the OCR confidence, it says that though you extracted everything, here I have a small issue with these two lines. So check it out. So that's the benefit of having both OCR confidence to check your data. So that's fine. So good thing is we have the validation station to proceed without uh, entering any wrong information to a system. So we can update it here and then continue. Right. So that's the benefit of using both in your validation logic. So the one last part is using the action center to perform this validation station or the validation. So just like you did for classification over here, we did create action and wait inside a try catch is the same thing that we need to do for the validation as well. So I will just put this outside just for the time being, just to show you how to do that. So I'm going to use a create. This time I'm using create document validation action on this side. So for the title, I will say document validation. Uh, yeah, instead of using the file name, so I can copy it from here. The path, yeah, document. So I will just copy this part, which shows us the document uh, name in the validation station, just like we did for classification. The priority can be anything: medium, high, or critical. Action catalog, which can be, uh, you can have it as null for the time being. Action folder path, I will just copy it from over here. Uh, yeah, we don't need the folder. Yeah, sorry. Uh, for the action catalog, we can say data validation. We don't need the folder path for the time being. The bucket name, I will copy it from this, the doc task. And the bucket directory path again is the folder path. So since I have it configured in the classification, I will use the same. And here we can give the folder path. It's the doc item for the document text, document object model, the taxonomy, and why it is wrong. Um, yeah, sorry, it's doc taxonomy. Doc taxonomy, and automatically extraction result is coming from this variable automatic extraction data, and here we have to specify the action object. Using this only it will look for the wait activity will work. Validation action object, and now I have to use a try catch to perform the wait activity, because it can return exception if the user marks the document as an exception. That's why we are using a try catch, just like in classification. And in the wait, I'm using wait for document validation action, and for the action object I'm using the same variable we see here, validation action object. Directory path, it can be my downloads folder for now, and we don't need the action object for now. So here the validated extraction result is our validated result that's returned from the action center. So I'm going to create a new variable for that, validated extraction data, and I will change the scope of that variable to be same as the extraction result. Okay, so we already have that variable, so I will just remove this, the one we created. So if you don't have that variable, please create it in the same scope as automatic extraction data. So, and the document path is uh, document item, and the document text is doc text. So these are the outputs that we get from the validation action, document object model, It's just assigning it to the same variables. And the automatic one is automatic extraction data. So this is going to be our output. And in the try, if the user reports it as an exception, I will uh, have an exception created over here. So similarly, we did the same thing for classification exception. So likewise, I will do it for the extraction as well. So all you need to do is I'm going to assign. So if you don't remember what happened in the classification, if you check this exception part, we to assign the exception to classification exception. So likewise, and that variable was declared at the very beginning. Um, as you see over here, classification exception, and we have the validation exception which we created in the very first set of videos, and this variable is what's going to be assigned if the user reports it as an error. So let's do that over here now. In the This is our create, and in the exception I will use the assign, and validation exception is going to be our exception. Okay, so we have configured the validation logic, and now we don't actually need the present validation station, but we have to do something additional. So instead of this message box now, I'm going to remove it and put a assign activity there. Why I do that is, so here from this create and wait, the result is assigned to a validated extraction data variable. So I have to do it for automatic verification as well. So I'm going to use the validated extraction data here and assign the automatic extraction data to that. So by doing this, now you have the output assigned to the validated extraction result. So the last part remains is how you are going to uh, use this validated extraction data to extract the output, and uh, maybe to write into different Excel files, or to use it in other downstream applications. So we'll have a look at that in the next video, which we will focus on how to extract the data, and based on that extracted data, how we can train our classifications and how we can train our extractors. So we are coming towards the end of this particular video, and this series will end in the next video that will be released in a couple of days. So hope you learned the how to perform the validation, and it was a little bit complex, I know, but it is very important to know this part, because it is the one of the key points when it comes to document understanding, how you can validate and how you can assign a task to a user whenever you feel that someone has to intervene and verify the data. So thank you very much for listening, and talk to you or see you in the next video. Take care.